Welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we're going to discuss the important issues appearing in the Hindu newspaper dated 23rd May 2018. Let's begin. The first news appears on page number 1. Here the news reads, App will help voters to share malpractice proof. Now this news is related to cases of electoral malpractices, and this news becomes a part of GS paper 2 specifically under governance and constitution. And here you can read important aspects of governance, transparency and accountability, e-governance, applications, models, success, limitations and potential. So as said, this news pertains to the issue of electoral malpractices and how through a mobile app or a mobile application, Election Commission has come forward with a suitable suggestions. Let's understand what this news is all about. Now you know that cases of electoral malpractices are very much in news these days. That the use of this muscle and money power in our election process has become a growing concern for the conduct of free, fair and transparent elections in India. And when we talk about elections, we are talking about elections at all level, including local level, state assemblies as well as the Lok Sabha. So it is with this respect of a growing concern that the Election Commission plans to launch a multilingual mobile application ahead of the 2019 Lok Sabha election. So let us understand how this mobile application works. The app allows citizens to share evidence of malpractice by political parties, their candidates, or any other persons who indulges in any kind of malpractices or irregular activities during the conduct of elections. The app allows for sharing of photos, short audio, or even short videos. And this sharing of photos, audios, or videos can be done directly from the spot of incidents of such malpractice or irregularity. When the user sends any pics, audios, or videos, then at the same moment, the location of the reported incidents will also be recorded, and the officials will receive immediate alerts. This will also ensure effective response from the election officials to prohibit any illegal activity or malpractice during the conduct of any election. So in this respect, let us also understand how the use of this mobile app during conduct of elections will help both the citizens as well as the government officials to conduct a smooth, free, fair and transparent election. The Chief Election Commissioner of India has said that the app was recently used for the first time in the Karnataka Assembly elections, and the app registered complaints from users and swift actions were taken accordingly by the election officials. Thus, the use of app will encourage larger public participation in checking corrupt or illegal practices during elections. Now, this larger public participation will lead to a more participative governance, because for the conduct of elections, both the officials as well as the citizens are stakeholders for a qualitative democracy. Public participation at larger level will not only ensure smooth conduct of elections but also enhance the quality of democracy in India. It will further lead to more citizen awareness with respect to conduct of free, fair and transparent election. Thus, these are some of the benefits which can be ascertained with respect to larger participation by the public in ensuring free, fair and transparent election. So in this news, we saw how Election Commission is planning to launch a mobile application ahead of the 2019 Lok Sabha elections for the conduct of free, fair and transparent election, and also to regulate malpractices or illegal activities which are carried out during the process of election. How does this application will work? It will allow citizens to share evidence of any of such malpractice by sharing photographs, audios or videos directly from the spot of incidents of malpractice, and this sharing will also alert the officials immediately. This will not only alert the officials but also send the location of the reported incidents, which will help in further regulating or ensuring effective response from election officials. And we just saw the various benefits of having these kind of apps, as it will encourage larger public participation, it will lead to more participative governance, because both citizens and officials are equal stakeholders in the conduct of elections, as well as public participation at larger level will ensure smooth conduct of elections, enhance quality of democracy in India, and also increase public awareness about the election process. In this respect, let us go through these two questions asked in 2017 and asked in 2016's mains examination. To enhance the quality of democracy in India, the Election Commission of India has proposed electoral reforms in 2016. What are the suggested reforms and how far are they significant to make democracy successful? So in this particular answer, now you can also include the use of mobile application. And the question asked in 2016 read, effectiveness of government system at various levels and people's participation in the governance system are interdependent. Discuss their relationship in the context of India. The mobile app to be launched by Election Commission is a classic example of public participation in governance, where both the government system, that is the election officials, and people's participation will help each other in smoothing the process or making the conduct of election free from illegal or corrupt malpractices. So we see similar questions have already been asked. Now these type of issues are important from governance point of view. As we have already seen that this topic gets covered under GS paper 2 and specifically under important aspect of governance, transparency, accountability, e-governance and applications. So this news with related to mobile application to be launched by Election Commission becomes an important news with respect to your UPSC examination. With this, let's move on to the next news. The next news appears on page number 5. The news reads, habitat loss may have triggered Nipah outbreak. Now this news on Nipah virus have been covered by Ankur sir as well as Maharshi ma'am in the previous two DNS. In this, we will understand how the habitat loss may have triggered this deadly Nipah virus. So this article focuses the relationship between human-induced habitat loss, climate change, and the outbreaks of deadly viral diseases like Nipah in Kerala. According to the World Health Organization, there is a strong evidence that emergence of bat-related viral infections can be attributed to the loss of animals' natural habitat. The report further says, as the flying fox or the fruit bat habitat is destroyed by human activity, the bats get stressed and hungry. Their immune system gets weaker, which makes their virus load goes up, and a lot of virus spills out of the urine and saliva. So in this news, we see a clear relation between loss of habitat of an animal by human activity and related infections caused by such loss of activity. As we see, when habitats are destroyed by human activity, bats get hungry, their immune system weakens and makes their virus load goes up, which becomes a major reason for virus secretion out of their urine and saliva. So far we had learned about Nipah virus. Today in this news, a different aspect gets covered with respect to the backdrop of Nipah virus, that is with related to bats. Now let us also see some of the environmental stresses and their effect in some case studies. In the case of Hendra virus, the Nipah equivalent in Australia, scientists found that when fruit bats are stressed through habitat fragmentation, habitat reduction and psychological stress, the percentage of bats infected with the virus increases drastically, which in fact increases the likelihood of passing it to humans through horses. Hendra virus also becomes one of the case study. As you can see, it is a Nipah equivalent in Australia. And also this virus spread because of habitat fragmentation and reduction as well as psychological stress of bats. Next, according to a study in Malaysia, rapid urbanization of bat-rich rainforest contributed to the emergence of Nipah virus. The regions most adversely affected were those that suffered from maximum deforestation. So here we see two important reasons. One is rapid urbanization and the next reason is deforestation. All these can be attributed to loss of habitat of bats. Then the news reads, experts say that forest fragmentation and hunting bats for food also bring them closer to humans and is often an important cause of disease transmission. So this backdrop of Nipah virus becomes an interesting case study and much research needs to be done on the spread of Nipah virus as mentioned due to rapid urbanization and deforestation. Also their fragmentation of their habitat. Some solutions were thought of with respect to culling this problem, which in effect proved to be disastrous. Let us see what these solutions were. Culling bat populations may seem like an easy solution and has been tried in Australia, but we know removing any animal from its habitat can have greater ecological impact. But studies warn that instead of reducing the outbreak of such zoonotic diseases, it could cause even more ecological damage. Now, zoonotic diseases refer to those diseases which are caused through animals. The reason given, about a quarter of more than 1,300 bat species seen worldwide feed on fruit and nectar and are crucial pollinators of fruit trees including mango, guava and banana, helping maintain genetic diversity in agricultural system. Now a question has also been asked by UPSC on the same topic in 2012 prelims examination. We'll see that question after going through this particular topic. It further reads, they are also important seed dispersers. Other bat species help bring rodents and insect numbers under control. So we see that bats have a role to play in maintaining the balance of our ecological biodiversity. So in this news, we saw that bats are crucial pollinators and they're also important seed dispersers. Now with this respect, let us go through the question asked by UPSC in the year 2012. Now the question asked in the year 2012 prelims examination, consider the following kinds of organisms: bat, bee and bird. Which of the above is our pollinating agent or agents? The options given were 1 and 2, that is bat and bee, only 2, that is only bee, 1 and 3, that is bat and bird, or all of these. So we know that bee and bird are definitely one of the pollinating agents. But so far we were not so sure about bat. But after going through this particular news, I am sure now you know that bats are also one of the pollinating agents as well as seed disruptors. So in this, the correct answer would be D, that is all of these. So in this particular news, we saw about how habitat loss of bats have triggered this outbreak of Nipah virus. With this, let's move on to the next news. The next news appears on page number 10. Here the news reads, small farmers get a raw deal. They are getting only 30 to 40% of loans meant for the sector as per a RBI report. So in this news, as per the RBI report, farmers are receiving only 30 to 40% of the loans meant for them. As per a report submitted by RBI to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Agriculture, only 42.2% of agricultural credit disbursed in 2016-17 went to small and marginal farmers. According to priority sector lending norms, 18% of banks' adjusted net bank credit must go to the agricultural sector. And within this 18%, 8% must go to the small as well as the marginal farmers. So in this news, we see that the farmers are not getting enough credit what they should be getting. While the banking sector has overall met this limit, there is still an inherent targeting problem. Now this inherent targeting problem arises out of the cost of lending to the agricultural sector. In this, banks choose to lend to those areas where cost of lending is lower or to those farmers who are more credit worthy, which in effect is the medium and large farmers. Now it is interesting to see in this particular data that the farmers to the rural area get only 34.5% of the credit, whereas the rest of the credit is given to farmers belonging to semi-urban area, urban area or metropolitan area. So we see in respect of even farmers belonging to rural area, they are getting very less percentage of credit. Hence, what we understand in this particular news is that the issue of priority sector lending needs deeper examination based on empirical data received from RBI. And the government must take appropriate steps to facilitate agricultural credit to the needy farmers. So in this news, we saw about the problem with respect to agricultural credit being received by the needy farmers in India. And as we can see in the statistics, that farmers belonging to the rural area are receiving less credit as compared to farmers belonging to metropolitan, semi-urban or urban areas. In this respect, let us also understand some of the basics about priority sector lending. So the question is, what are the different categories under priority sector lending? Priority sector includes the following categories, namely agriculture, micro, small and medium enterprises, export credit, education, housing, social infrastructure, renewable energy and others. Then the question which arises is, what are the targets and sub-targets for banks under priority sector? So total priority sector is 40% of adjusted net bank credit, and in which agriculture is 18%, micro enterprises is 7.5%, advances to weaker sections is 10% of ANBC, that is adjusted net bank credit. Let us also understand what comprises these weaker sections. The weaker section includes small and marginal farmers, artisans, village and cottage industries, where individual credit limits do not exceed 1 lakh, beneficiaries under government sponsored schemes such as NRLM, National Urban Livelihood Mission, and self employment scheme for rehabilitation of manual scavengers, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, beneficiaries of differential rate of interest scheme, SHGs, that is self help groups, distressed farmers indebted to non institutional lenders, distressed persons other than farmers, individual women beneficiaries up to Rs 1 lakh per borrower, person with disabilities, overdrafts up to 5,000 under PMJDY, Jandhan Yojana, and minority communities as may be notified by government from time to time. This news pertains to GS paper 3, specifically under issues relating to major cropping patterns and marketing of agricultural produce and issues and related constraints. And since agriculture also impacts the Indian economy, hence this also becomes a part of Indian economy and related issues. So we see that this news pertaining to agricultural credit becomes an important news from your UPSC mains point of view. With this, let's move on to the next news. The next news appears on page number 8. The news reads, Keeping each other on edge, anguish about the tussles between the executive and the judiciary is misplaced. Now, this article deliberates upon the relationship between the executive and the judiciary in a constitutional democracy. The author mentions that every developed constitutional democracy has had its own share of ups and downs, but at the end, such tussles have only strengthened the constitutional governance and empowered the organs of the government in the right spirit. The article mentions about Lord Wolfe. It reads, Lord Wolfe says that the three organs of the state are like three chains that hold the structure of the state together. He observed, if one chain slackens, then another needs to be taken the strain. However, so long as there is no danger of the chain breaking, the fact that this happens is not a manifestation of weakness but that of strength. So, this statement effectively tells us about the crux of the article that whatever these branches of the government, that is, executive and judiciary, whatever tussles they have seen with each other or whatever issues they had, this has only led to the strengthening of the institution of constitutional governance. And judiciary, in this respect, has played a very important and a pivotal role because in any constitutional democracy, an independent judiciary is a must. And because of the independence of judiciary, it ensures that the other branches of the government, that is the executive as well as the legislature, strictly follows the rule of the law or strictly follows constitutional norms. So this topic of separation of power between executive, judiciary and even legislature becomes an important topic with respect to our UPSC syllabus and examination. In India, of late the tiff between the executive and judiciary has grown considering the name suggested by collegium. So let us understand this entire concept of tiff between executive and judiciary through the prism of theory of separation of power. In India, we do not strictly follow the theory of separation of power as proposed by Montesquieu. So this theory of separation of power was proposed by Montesquieu. The theory suggests that principal institutions of state, namely the executive, the legislature and judiciary, should be divided in person and in function in order to safeguard liberties and guard against tyranny. As per the theory, none of the three branches shall exercise the power of the other, nor should any person be a member of any two of the branches. Instead, the independent action of the separate institutions shall create a system of checks and balances between them. Now, this theory of separation of power is strictly followed in the United States of America. As we also know, USA has a presidential form of government. However, in the United Kingdom and other common law jurisdictions or other countries following common law system, the theory of separation of power enjoys lesser prominence as compared to those countries which follow presidential form of government. As mentioned, in India we do not strictly follow the theory of separation of power. However, Article 50 provides for separation of judiciary from the executive in matters of public service. And India has also modeled its constitution on a common law pattern. The tip can be seen during emergency when the executive appointed the fourth senior most judge as the Chief Justice of India, disregarding the three senior most judges. This led to a huge hue and cry in the country where it was seen that the executive was usurping power of the judiciary. So this tussle between the executive and the judiciary regarding appointment led to the evolution of collegium system in India through the three judges cases. And this collegium system comprises of 5 senior most judges of the Supreme Court, including the Chief Justice of India. Recently, the executive tried to introduce NJAC, that is National Judicial Accountability Commission Bill, which aimed to replace this collegium system. However, a constitution bench declared the NJAC bill as unconstitutional because, as per the NJAC bill, the executive were interfering too much in the judicial process. Recently, the TIF has again emerged with respect to recommendation given by the collegium. The executive has returned a name which was suggested by the collegium to be elevated as judge of a Supreme Court. So now if the collegium again sends back the name of Justice Joseph or other judges, then the executive has to appoint. So even in the case of India, we see that through this tussle between executive and judiciary through different issues emerging through emergency, through collegium system, unconstitutional declaration of NJAC bill, and the current issue with respect to returning of names by the executive has further strengthened this institution of democracy because effectively it has laid down these guidelines as rule of law. So we understand in this article that somewhere through these judgments or precedents, we also have strengthened our institutions by following rule of law and reason. Thus, an independent judiciary is important for the functioning of a vibrant democracy. This news can be covered under GS paper 2 and specifically under separation of powers between various organs, dispute redressal mechanism and institution, and also comparison of Indian constitutional scheme with that of other countries. So this news with respect to tussle between executive and judiciary and also understanding the theory of separation of power becomes important from UPSC point of view. With this, let's move on to the next article. The next news appears on page number 7. The news reads, Air quality causes premature deaths. IIT CEED study in 11 North Indian cities says pollution is a major reason for premature mortality. This news can be covered under GS paper 3 under the topic of environmental pollution. Hence, this topic becomes extremely important with respect to UPSC examination. Let's see what this article suggests. In this article, it says that worsening air quality in the last 2 decades has emerged as one of the major reasons for high number of premature deaths. And this has been suggested by a recent study conducted in 11 North Indian cities. The title of the study is Know What You Breathe, and the study has been conducted by Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, in collaboration with an environmental NGO, Center for Environment and Energy Development. As per the report, annual mortality linked with pollution can be found in the range of 150 to 200 persons per 1 lakh population. In this regard, Kanpur has recorded the highest number of premature deaths per year due to degrading environmental pollution. This is followed by Lucknow, Meerut, Banaras, Allahabad and Gorakhpur. All these cities pertain to the Indo-Gangetic Plain. The report further says that if the air quality standards in these cities are improved, then it may lead to reduction in premature mortality burden. Let us also understand the reasons given by the report with respect to premature deaths. The study has attributed residential cooking, heating and lighting sources as the largest contributors to particulate matter 2.5 concentration, followed by industry, transport and energy sectors. So in this, the 4 sectors which contributes largely to the PM 2.5 concentration are residential with respect to cooking, heating and lighting, followed by industry, transport and energy sectors. So the report says that these 4 one of the major reasons for concentration of PM 2.5. It further says a high rate of unplanned urbanization is the main anthropogenic source of rapid increase in pollution levels. Thus, unplanned urbanization becomes another major source of environmental pollution. The study has said that a very high exposure to air pollution was recorded during post-monsoon, that is during October, November and winter seasons, that is during December and February seasons. So all these becomes important for us to understand that why these environmental pollutions is now started causing premature deaths. In this respect, both the central and state governments need to take note of this alarming situation. and create a national clean air action plan, which is ambitious, effective, and focuses on time bound implementation. The report suggests the various places which leads to concentration of PM 2.5, in which residential, cooking, heating, and lighting is one of the major sources, followed by industry, transport, and energy. And in this respect, both the central and state governments need to take note of this alarming situation and create a national clean air action plan, which must be ambitious, effective, and focuses on the time bound implementation. Thus, this news on worsening air quality, which has become one of the major reasons for high number of premature deaths, becomes important with respect to your pre as well as mains examination. With this, we come to an end to today's newspaper. Let's move on to the question for the day.